Hare Krishna. Our time together here is now drawing to its close. And of course, we would like to thank you all for being with us on this journey. We hope that we found some hints and inspirations in our spiritual life. Of course, we'd like to thank our QnA over here and our powerful, and also our hosts for the retreat. I don't think any case that oh yeah, Montes is here. Thank you on behalf of all of us, and you have to accept on behalf of us our thanks. And Vaishnava Charan, who's still in the kitchen, like always. And of course, Aniruddha Poo and Sinja Rupa, Mataji, for being here with us always. And so many devotees to thank for staying awake most of the time. And all the little ones who sat up front. Where's Part? He's not here. We could always thank him for entertaining us. Oh yes, thank you for entertaining us, Part. Hare Krishna. Actually, in the last class, I told them in the beginning not to be too extravagant in his playing, and he was so peaceful. Of course, he was sleeping, but no, he was fully awake and listening so attentively. It was so inspiring, and all the younger ones, especially, and the medium ones, and we don't have so many older ones here, only us. No. Some of us. Oh yeah. Oh. Thank you so much. Now, Prabhu. Yeah. And of course we thank Srila Prabhupada here by his mercy, and so many of his kind-hearted followers who are and disciples who are preaching and giving shelter to so many devotees. And there's a new big dog out there. We'd like to thank him. What's this one's name?
Grunty.
Huh?
Grunty.
Short for
Grunty is a she.
Okay. One thing that at the Govardhan retreats that during the last time we sort of give some advice before everyone goes to their places, and part of the advice is generally listen to the recordings, and you gain so much more than the second time you hear them. So listen to them. There's so many valuable instructions from the Bhagavatam, and of course the pastime Mataji also spoke from the Bhagavatam. Did you want to give any final send-off advice before we have a few questions and answers?
I always used to think that this was kind of how it was all year. That when we go, we come back, and here you are again, and it's always like this. But I asked Sri Chaitanya, and he explained that no, once a year, it's like this, we all come together like this. And so I realized that it was as unique for you to be in this group, in this arrangement, as it is for us. So then I understood better the speciality of these now mini Govardhan retreats. Because what they do is they put aside all the things that are usually on your mind, and that's a lot of things, and you're sort of asked to just try to bring your attention to hearing these different philosophical points, pastimes and wonderful kirtan. And they're all woven together in a way that gives you something that is very substantial. As my husband was saying, if you listen to them again and again during the time between us being here now and being here next time. And this pastime about the wives of the Brahmins, to me is always one I never understood until I started to study it. I couldn't understand why Krishna sent them home. I thought it was the most unkind thing, and that he was like a moralist, you know. and how could he be God and then send them home like that? You'd have to do something magic to let them stay. But he did something mysterious to go with them. And this is the part that I never understood before, how much he benedicted them. And so that led me to think that if I try and do my housework duties, because I'm like yourselves, I'm not doing this all year round. This is a special occasion for me as well. So when I go back to my housework, if I try to think in the way they were thinking, that Krishna said, I am in the Vedic sacrifices, do the sacrifice for me. So this is the great challenge, and they succeeded in it. So that's why they're glorified over thousands and thousands of years in the form of the Bhagavatam, because they were successful. So we can also approach them in our prayers and ask for their blessing as well, because they show us the path of how to do that. Not that we can follow it in the way that they could do it, but even just a touch of an idea is a huge step forward in our spiritual advancement. So that was wonderful that I think.
Does anyone have any questions? We have a few minutes. Yes. Yes.
Can I ask, thank you so much. Your stories were so inspiring. The pastimes that you shared were so nice. I had just one question, actually two questions. Time permits, please answer both. One is, generally speaking, it is said that one gets bhakti through contact with sadhu sangha, through other devotees. So my question was, how did those Brahmin wives cultivate their bhakti? Like, what was their previous thing? We can share that. Another thing was the one exception lady who couldn't go, talked about. I thought it was not narrated fully. Like, she just left the body. Like, what happened?
Okay, the first one, how did they get that devotion? If you go even today on Braj Mandal Prikrama, which is a circumambulation around Vrindavan Braj, the greater area, you'll come to a place called Batrol. And that's the place where the Yagya Brahmanis lived. So to this day there's a temple there, you can go there and visit that place. And it's not very far from Vrindavan. It's on the outskirts of Mathura and on the outskirts of Vrindavan. So there were sometimes young girls would go there with flowers they were selling, or fruit they were selling, or different types of things like this that come from Vrindavan or go back from Vrindavan. And these ladies were attracted to them. So they asked these, you could say, ordinary people, but not ordinary people because they were from Vrindavan, who were surcharged with love of Krishna already. So they became the catalyst or the stimulus for these Brahmin ladies when they were very young to want to marry Krishna. So it's correct. You have to touch somebody who has bhakti, for bhakti to take place in your heart. And the lady, that was very interesting. I could never understand that. What happened to the lady? Did she die? Did she live? So I looked and studied whatever I could find on that particular pastime. And as far as I understood it, I left it a little bit obscure because I didn't think I understood it well enough to make it more clear. But she became completely detached. She saw Krishna came to her and told her, come with me. The other ladies had to go home. But her, Krishna came and said, come with me. And so she went into some kind of a trance. And in that state of mind, everything about her life, she was able to release her attachment to everything. And then her body was transformed into a spiritual body, because now she had released herself from all of the material identification. And then some time after that, she actually also left that material, spiritualized material body, and her next birth was in Vrindavan. And those ladies also, their next birth would be in Vrindavan, because this is what they wanted so much. But they were not in a suitable position right then to obtain that directly.
Now, in the past time, you mentioned that Gopas, and they got the Krishna suggestion, they went to Brahmanas, and then they were so embarrassed, and then they had to come back.
Yes.
And then second time, Krishna again asked, this time you go to. So why would the Sakhas trust Krishna's words for the second time?
They didn't. They didn't. They said to him, we just went there, you told us it would be all right, and everything always a disappointment, so why should we go back? But then he was very clever and he speaks very sweetly. He said, just try. So they went. They don't base literally on trust. Their relationship is so close. The closest thing I can think of myself when I think about this is your hand. Right? If you might be talking to me and your ear starts itching, and while you're talking you start scratching it. And you don't think, uh-oh, my ear is itching, I think I should scratch it right here, I should scratch, that's very good. There's no intellectual process that goes on. You just do it. Because the intimacy, the connection between you and your hand is organic. So the intimacy between the boys and Krishna is as close and is close like that. Of course, it's transcendental, so I can't understand that level. But when we look at something transcendental, we have to try and see some example here that points us in the direction of that transcendental element that's way beyond our comprehension. This is so many times, this is a kind of logic also, that you say, you see the moon is just above that tree, but the moon is far away from the tree. But to locate the moon, so we have a reference point, we use analogies, examples from life here, to help us to understand what it would be like in the transcendental world.
I'd like to add something. With your permission? Hare Krishna. Should have got that on video. You'll never see it again.
That's why I didn't say anything.
Is that a surprise? When we look at transcendence, something of the spiritual realm, we tend to take our material mind and our material conditioning and put it overlay it over the spiritual. So because my nature is like that, if someone tells me something like that and it doesn't work out exactly that way, then I'd be very, very hesitant to do it again. But our situation is quite different from the residents of Vrindavan, because they've given everything to Krishna. We're sort of going forward and at the same time going back just in case, and going forward, and if this doesn't work out in my spiritual life exactly the way I would hoped, or someone said, that I sort of half go backwards and things like that. But of course, those who are fully surrendered, what to speak of the residents of Vrindavan, they've already given everything to Krishna. You see it in the pastime of Vamandev. How did he deal with Bali? Bali Maharaj gave him everything. And what did he do? Huh?
He gave himself.
Yes, but before that he took everything from Bali Maharaj, then said, you haven't given enough. And he tied him up, treated him like a thief, embarrassed him in front of everyone, in front of Prahlad Maharaj, even his grandfather. And Bali Maharaj had no resentment at all because he had surrendered. He had actually given himself completely. And then, because he had given himself completely, Krishna gave himself completely to Bali Maharaj. So that type of devotion where one is love. Devotion means really love. It's based on giving oneself to the other. It's really on a different level than we see in the material realm, and our material minds don't quite get there. And it's so interesting because Bali Maharaj and Vamandev, how they related, and when we even say that even the gopis accused Krishna at one point that, look how you treated Bali Maharaj. He gives everything, and you cheated him. You took everything. All I want is 3 steps of land. I don't want a lot. If one's not satisfied with 3 steps of land, he won't be satisfied with the whole universe. So he spoke in such a charming way, and we can just picture it in our minds. This effulgent, beautiful Brahmin boy is speaking in this way, and he enchants you completely. And then he acted like that. And that's just how Krishna treated the residents of Vrindavan. When we look at it, he cheated them. They gave him everything. And what did he do? He leaves Vrindavan. And he says, Abhyayga. So I'm just pasun. He said, I'm coming tomorrow or the next day I'm coming. Don't. Like this. But so from that point of view, it looks like he treated them. He didn't return for so long. But actually, Vrindavanam Prajaja Padamekam Nagachati. He never even left Vrindavan. He can't leave Vrindavan. It's not possible for him to leave Vrindavan because the love of the residents of Vrindavan is so complete. He can treat them, he can do this, he can give them the opulence of the universe, he can take away this, he can give them everything, and their love doesn't increase, it doesn't decrease, and they're not affected by anything because they're completely in love with him. That's Krishna Bhakti. That's where we're trying to develop. It's so complete, it's so sublime that the unconquerable Supreme Lord becomes conquered by that. So it's so powerful. It's so powerful. It's the most powerful thing. It rules Vrindavan. It's not Krishna who rules Vrindavan. It's not even Yogamaya who rules Vrindavan. It's the love of the devotees that rules Vrindavan, and everyone is submissive to that. Yogamaya arranges things so that the devotees are satisfied. This is the most mysterious thing. I once went to the Vatican. Raise your hand if you've ever been to the Vatican. Usually I ask about holy places. So you go to the Vatican, and in the Vatican there's this museum. And there's these museums in the Sistine Chapel. And there's these works of art that are worth millions and millions, uncountable millions of dollars. And you see pictures of paintings and carpets on the walls and carvings of this and that. And you see, and the one that struck me, there was this old sadhu-looking person, and in the corner of the painting you see a bright light, and it's obviously the Supreme Lord or something, and he's like this. And there's such a religious feeling in these places and looking at these things. And I thought, our temples are so different. Because here, this sadhu is going like this in front of the Lord, and then you look at the picture of Mother Yasoda and Damodar, and the Lord is going like this. So who's going to understand this place? It's such a conception of the Supreme Lord, how he becomes completely submissive and controlled by the love of his devotees. It's so sublime, it's so rarefied. It's so incredible. He's such a lovable God. One time in Japan, Prabhupada, somehow Trivikram Maharaj and I were outside of Prabhupada's room, and he rang the bell. So we immediately went into his room, and Trivikram Maharaj had just gotten his brother was a Christian, so he sent him what they call a Bible tract, and it showed him many, and he showed it to Prabhupada, and he read it to Prabhupada. It said, many Christians are turning to Hinduism, meaning Hare Krishna. Here is a Hindu PhD who's turned to Krishna, to Christianity. And then he explains, and they have that PhD talking, and he explains how, Hinduism is so bad because they worship statues, and they have a caste system that oppresses so many people. It's so bad. He said that, and how would Prabhupada react to this? So he just started reading back, and he just sort of laughed, and he said, he's a PhD and still doesn't understand anything. And then he revealed why he had called us in. And he took out this picture, a photograph of Rukmini Dorkadish in Los Angeles that one of the devotees had sent him. He just showed it to us. And this is why he actually had called us in, just to show us this photo. And he said, in any way, our God is the nicest God. And he just showed us this photo. It wasn't in like a sectarian way, but it was just, it was such a sweet exchange. Because this idea of this concept, this person, Krishna, it's just such a development over the concept of God, who's the controller of the old man with the beard and the lightning bolt or something like that. It's very, very different from that. It's very, very different.
Does it mean there are many gods? And Krishna's one of them?
There's so many gods. No, of course not. It's just an intimate understanding of the actual personality of God. And he's wonderful. Would you like to say something, or is there any other questions? Yeah. Oh, you all talk at the same time. Okay, Rasa.
Technical question from Mataji. The story that you gave us, was it based on the translations and reports of the Bhagavatam, or were there other books?
The compilation for putting those stories, those presentations together, is based on Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna book, Gopal Champu, Nanda Vrindavan Champu, the commentaries of the Vaishnava Acharyas, and very strongly on the lectures of His Holiness Radha Govinda Maharaj, who has access, because he's a scholar, to the Sanskrit and to the other commentaries that are available. So all that information together and then selecting. I'm a little selective, but nothing that was there wasn't there, spoken by one of those acharyas.
Yes. Cool.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, on the theme of this prescription for transcendence, I found three main prescriptions that I resonated with. The first one was to focus your mind and consciousness on Krishna. The second one being to think less about yourself and think more about Krishna, to repose that awareness, that attention on Krishna during difficulty. And the third one being to help these two to be a part of a community, to be with devotees, and get that support that you would need in the daily run of show. So the question is, how do we cultivate deep, meaningful relationship with devotees when we are surrounded by all these other obligations? Just the daily run of life, it's so taxing that we really don't get the time to develop deep relationships and friendships. It's more like acquaintances. So how can we develop, given the situation we are in?
When people say we,
I.
I'm definitely reluctant to say I instead. So how can I develop that more deeper relationship with devotees? And that's a very important question. Now, only if we had another 6 or 7 hours. What I would have you first do is everyone form into small groups of four people, or 3, 4, 5 people, and just discuss this. And if we don't make friendship with the devotees, and Prabhupada said this to myself and Jagattarini and myself in Hong Kong, he said, if you don't, we are social by nature. And if we don't develop friendship with the devotees, because we are social by nature, we will be forced into social relationships with people who are not serious in spiritual life. I'm adding some purport into it, and not following any principles in life, and then we won't be able to follow the principles. So often when we think of how can we, or how can I do this, we sort of want a system or someone else to make a plan for us. But it's actually not very difficult if you take the first step. So don't wait for it to happen or someone else to do it. If in the Upadeshamrita it describes 6 elements of loving exchange. Reveal your heart in confidence, exchange of gifts, prasadam, is there another?
That's it.
Yeah, prasadam and gifts. So you find someone who you'd like to be closer to, and you engage in one of those loving exchanges. And or another way is that you find those devotees who you have some tension in the relationship with, and try your best to remove that tension. And instead of waiting for him to apologize, you apologize and say somehow or another. There's this part of when Chitraketu Maharaj is a Vidyadhara, when he seemingly laughs at Lord Shiva and Parvati. So it is so interesting. The Parvati becomes angry at him, and you're daring to laugh at Lord Shiva. Who do you think you are? All these sages are sitting around him, and you think you're better than them, and judging Lord Shiva's character, because Parvati was sitting upon his lap or something like that. So she became very angry at him and cursed him. So he came down and offered an apology. And it was the example on one level of the complete wrong way to give an apology. He said, although I've done nothing wrong, I'm sorry. Which is usually the way we think, I never do anything wrong, and I'm sorry. So who's going to forgive anyone who is thinking I didn't do anything wrong? But what Prabhupada explains it in 1 or 2 lines of his purport, something that really, he explained it, really struck me. What he meant was that even though I didn't mean any harm, still my words disturbed you and caused you anxiety to your loving relationship with Lord Shiva. So I'm so sorry for that, for causing you anxiety in that way. So I see that even though from our point of view, we may not have meant to cause any harm, but somehow or another, by our rough dealings and the surcharged nature of Kali Yuga, we disturb people. So find someone that you think may be disturbed by something you may have done, even though you didn't mean anything, and say, I'm really sorry. Excuse me, please accept this prasadam, and I'll try to improve. And never, when you apologize, never say, I'm so sorry, but. But if you wouldn't have acted that way, I never would have done that. That's an apology with a hook at the end. So there's so many things we could do, but don't wait for someone else to do it or some system to be put in place. From now on, we're all going to do this, and just take a first step forward, and Krishna will be pleased. And another very good way to develop friendship is do service together with devotees. Anyway, I'm sure you're asking this kind of a question to benefit us all. Any last question for Mataji?
All finished.
All finished. Okay, last two questions and then I'll
Thank you
give
so much.
short answers.
Thank you so much.
No. That was my short answer. No, go ahead.
You mentioned in the last class that we put more focus on increasing the quantity, but what about
Tending.
Yes, tending to increase the quantity. So my question was in regard to chanting. I've heard one or two lectures. They said that if you want to increase the quality, increase the quantity will follow. But
If you realize, look how bad my quality is. It's not like it's automatic. But of course, with the holy names, it's like when if you're shooting a gun and it has what it was called buckshot or something. That was those scatters, whatever. So one's bound to hit. But you realize I've just chanted 230 rounds that I didn't hear one Hare Krishna because I've been watching television as I've been chanting. I don't think that stuff doesn't go on. So when you realize that I'm missing this chance, when you're saying Gayatri Mantra, you're saying the mantras, and you realize you have some understanding of what these mantras are, and you realize what I've missed when my mind has wandered and haven't paid attention. And you feel very bad and foolish. So we should bring in Prabhupada's system for increasing the quality, and he wasn't at all into decreasing the quantity at all, but he had the system of the morning and evening programs so that you hear. And what do you hear when you hear the Bhagavatam and you chant and you go in front of the deities? So what are you supposed to be doing when you're in front of the deities? You're praying for the ability to love them, for some mercy like that. What do you when you're hearing the Bhagavatam and you're hearing the Bhagavad Gita, these are instructions how to increase the quality. You read in Kunti Devi's prayers that it's, what is it, Janmaishwarya Shrita Shribhir, you know that purport about it's a matter of the quality of the chanting has all that potency. You know that purport? It's so powerful. But it's a matter of the quality of the chanting. Like a baby crying for mother. Are there any babies around that we could pinch and get them to start it going so that everyone, that was a joke, by the way. So that we hear the power of a baby's crying. You can't think of anything else. Prabhupada said, our chanting is supposed to be like that. Was he talking about quality? So we have to hear that it should be this calling out and need. Allow me to serve you. Please accept me as your servant. When that depth of sincerity is there, then Krishna must catch his attention. And Prabhupada was very much into quantity, but he wanted quality, because he even said if you don't, without the quality you won't survive really for long. You won't survive. Because we start chanting, we have a hope. We have a hope for our heart to be full of something deep and spiritual. And then if we just do the outside part, the shell, like Putana, I remember Ravinda Prabhu wrote an article about Putana Bhakti. Many years ago. So our teaching on Yavila Sita Sanyam, this is what Rupa Goswami first explains in Bhakti-rasamrita Sindhu Nectar Devotion, that we want to perform pure devotional service. Pure devotional service. So, what did I answer? Quality or quantity? Huh? Both, but you better get the quality up. Otherwise, you think, anyway, it doesn't really seem to work. And if you're not getting the satisfaction you long for, you'll try to get it somewhere else. If you don't get the satisfaction of the friendship that each of us need, you'll look somewhere else for friendship. Rest assured, you'll look somewhere else for friendship. You're bored already? How come you don't get bored when Mataji's talking? Okay, Hayagriva tells me, okay, you've spoken enough. Okay, cool. I can teach Hayagriva, and he can teach me, because we're friends. Okay, the last question. Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Maharaj, for last 2 days. It was really...
How about Mataji also?
Yes. Thank you, both of you, for such a wonderful experience, Maharaj. Maharaj, in the morning you said one should desire in a humble mood. Maharaj, humbly I just want to request you, this retreat is only for 2 days. Initially used to be for 3 days, so if possible for you and Mataji, can we increase this retreat from next year, maybe from 2 to 3 days now?
I'm trying to think of a tactful way to say no. Did you think of one?
No, I would have said yes.
Huh?
I would have said yes.
Mataji is having a 3-day retreat.
Some people are busier than others.
Huh? There we go. He's our lawyer. Thank you so much. It was just a kind and generous-hearted gesture that you gave us. I still can't think of what. Okay, I know what to do. I'll think about it. Thank you all. Okay, I hear the sound of, in the distance, of Sarira Vidyajala. Because one of the reasons why this retreat, I think, works well is because it's only 2 days, to tell you the truth. Because when you have a 3-day weekend, then people have, and they don't come the night before on Friday, they can finish their work week and they can sorry for getting practical here and why we decided to do it this way. And then they come and we start not at 4 o'clock in the morning, we start at 10:30, 11, so people have time to chant. And then tomorrow you have the time to do all the things on a long weekend, do the wash, do the laundry, do the shopping and everything. And everyone can come and be here.
But we have entire year to finish all those works.
You win. Aniruddha Prabhu, would you like to have this one too? Is Hayagriva left already? But his part is just going to begin soon. Bring him back.
Actually, I think this retreat model has been the best because we haven't had people coming and going.
Yeah.
People have arrived. We've extended the Sunday, so we're finishing at this point in time to compensate for the fact that we didn't have a Friday evening program. And I think 2 days is pretty much the max, otherwise people are going to be pretty tired tomorrow.
You're talking about us too.
As well? That's
Anyway, if anyone finds my voice, please return it because I lost it.
That's okay, it's echoing in our heads, so it's not lost.
Please return it.
Anyway, I'd just like to thank you for coming once again. I really appreciated those verses, they were quite inspiring. Jagattarini Mataji's expression of the Jagyak Brahmana's wives, what do we call it? What was that emotion? I think it's the first time that I've seen Jagattarini really act.
Yeah.
And the emotion in her voice was very powerful and certainly struck me. So on behalf of all of our community, we'd like to thank you once again.
She read that, and she read this one line, and she not read it, she said, "You don't own me." And Sachinanda, I don't belong to anyone. And Sachinanda Raj. And later he came to me and said, I don't think she was acting. I think she was talking about you.
I got into so much trouble that night.
We have one final word from Hayagriva Prabhu. You ready? Have to stand up and face. Do you remember what to say? After we did this last time, I said, and then Siddhant was there. I said, Siddhant, the next time you can do it. And yes. And Hayagriva said, no. This is his role. Okay, this is his service. Go ahead.
Please everyone put their hand in their hair and say, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.